Welcome into Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast. You're watching This Week in Pirate Baseball. East Carolina goes 0-4 on the week. Showed some improvement offensively at times during the North Carolina series, but unfortunately suffered a 6-3 loss and a sweep at the hand of the Tar Heels on Monday night. But we'll dive into it all here in just a moment. But welcome in former East Carolina third baseman Mark Minikazi. Kaz, we appreciate your time.
Bubba, thanks for having me.
No doubt. As you take a look at things, we got the week started as always, and we were traveling to Bowie's Creek to take on Campbell, and a 3-2 loss. Just 2 hits in the game and 13 strikeouts. And like Cliff said post game, not a lot of quality at bats to say the least. The pitching staff, you did have a few more free passes, and we'll dive into that issue. In the bigger picture of things as we move along. But on Tuesday night, we have 12 strikeouts by the pitching staff, but also 6 free passes, little too many, but they at least gave us a chance to win.
Yeah, no, I mean, the strikeouts are great. I mean, that's huge to have that. The walks, 6, if you can limit those to not crossing the plate, that's fine. It's just when there's a fine line when when you walk guys early in an inning and those turn into runs, it hurts you, especially in games like that. I mean, 3-2, it comes down to those little fine details that could be the difference between a win and a loss.
Yep. And, one of the guys that performed very well in that game on Tuesday, out of the bullpen, and he was inserted into the game in the second inning, and that was Ethan Young. Ethan saw action in that season opener, I guess it was. He unfortunately could not find the zone in that one, but had a nice bounce back performance. 3 innings, not a single run, a hit, 4 strikeouts, and no free passes. And that was great to see, because I know he will certainly be a key arm moving forward.
Yeah, it's encouraging. I mean, with the struggles early in the year, I mean, I think the biggest thing that you look for is who are the pitchers who are going to step up. We have a couple guys who are down right now, so it's like, hey, who's going to step up and be the guy and help lead this staff. So guys are going to get opportunities. We're 7 games in. We've seen a lot of guys throw, and a lot of guys have multi opportunities. So I think over the next couple of weeks, you'll see that, and guys will establish roles, and we'll see what guys step up and say, hey, I want to be a guy.
One of the guys for East Carolina that did have a hit was Austin Irby. He had an opposite field double. I mean, he had a lot of quality at bats on opening weekend. Not a whole lot to show for it, but he was one of the guys that seemed fairly locked in. Hit some balls hard the other way and fairly deep to center field and so forth. And it's great to see Austin and get that hit. But as far as the pitching staff that we were going against, so you had a transfer from East Carolina, Mason Smith, that went 4 shutout innings, and then what an awesome name, Jet Music. Unfortunately, he struck out the last 5 of the game, and he's a two-way guy. Started the game in left field, but we'll go ahead and put a bow on Tuesday night there, but because there wasn't a whole lot to talk about from an East Carolina standpoint, just those 2 hits, and coming up shy 3-2 in Bowie's Creek. Moving on to the weekend, of course, the series was rearranged. You had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, as opposed to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, due to the snow that we received in the eastern part of the state and throughout North Carolina. And as a result, you were opening things at the DBAP, and Ethan Norby got the ball and pitched very well on Saturday. Ethan went 4 and a fraction, I think 4 2/3, and looked much more like himself than he did against George Mason.
Yeah, no, it's great to see. I mean, when you face a team, I think they're ranked 6th in the nation. You're facing a top 10 team. Those kind of guys. That's who you need to step up, and I think we all believe that he's going to be one of our guys going forward. So to see him have a sort of struggle in that first opening day game. I mean, it's opening day, man. It's a different atmosphere to settle in, facing a really, really good lineup and do what he did. It's encouraging, and it's exciting to see, Norby step up.
And also, you had Ethan Young once again. Ethan had another extended relief outing, 3 1/3, and he is our PGXGLOVES.com pitcher of the week. And there you see his numbers for the week: 6 1/3, shutout baseball, and just 2 hits, 9 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So congratulations to Ethan Young on being our PGXGLOVES.com pitcher of the week. And then you had Brad Pruitt. He came in and gave us a solid inning in the ninth. Throughout the game. And on one hand, it sounds crazy if you weren't there watching it and you didn't know the first 4 games of the season, just how this team had been at the plate offensively. But we had a lot more quality at bats, and we were found a lot of 2-strike pitches off, then drawing walks or putting the ball in play with hard contact. Unfortunately, a lot of those were right at the Tar Heels. But in the game, the Pirates had 6 hits and did finish with 9 Ks. A lot of those came late, but looked a lot more like ourselves and a lot more like what you would expect to see out of an East Carolina offense throughout that game. But the story was in the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings, ECU left a combined 8 on base, on the bases loaded in the 5th and the 7th.
Yeah, it's tough. The runners in scoring position is a stat that is a difference maker in a lot of games. We see it at our level. You can have 12 hits on the board, but if you're 1 for 7 with guys in scoring position, you usually won't come out victorious that day. So, looking at the positives, man, you're facing really good arms, a lot better arms than we saw with George Mason and even Campbell this weekend. The guys responded, had good at bats, at least the first 2 days, and hopefully they can go into this week and sort of forget Monday and get back to those quality at bats, because it's where it starts. When you're struggling offensively, when you're not getting a lot of hits, when you're hitting under 200 as a team, I mean, the focus got to be back on having quality at bats, staying in the middle of the field. I think we probably had hit more balls into our dugout hard than we hit hard balls on the field. It just, the adjustments need to be made. And hey, give Cliff a lot of credit. I mean, his post game after Monday night, he owned it and said, "Hey, we're going to make the adjustments. We're going to get there." And I mean, look at the track record of Cliff. I mean, we hit every single year. So having a lot of new guys in the lineup, man, you're seeing a lot of bad at bats right now, but they're going to make the adjustments and they're going to get better. And as we get into conference play, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't play in a very, as we could say, strong conference. So we have an opportunity to make up some ground and get back onto the winning side and make a run. So, I mean, we're only 7 games in, but adjustments need to be made. I mean, man, some of these swings, I mean, we're taking strikes down the middle and swinging at balls in the dirt. I mean, that is not a recipe for success.
No doubt, well said. And we talked about the quality of bats in Saturday's game. The Pirates definitely multiplied that on Sunday. Easily the best offensive day in the first 7 games. Put up 6 runs. So you had 10 hits in the game and a lot of quality at bats, and where you had hard hit balls that just did not find a hole. And it was a game on which East Carolina led there in the mid to late innings, but unfortunately, just which was an all too common theme throughout the week, with the exception of Saturday's game, of issuing too many free passes for the week. Pirate pitching, 33 strikeouts, 30 free passes, and against the Tar Heels, despite being an excellent 12 strikeouts to 3 walks in game 1 for the series, finish up 21 strikeouts to 24 free passes, which just simply it's not going to get it done against most people, much less the number 5 or 6 team in the country like North Carolina is.
Yeah, exactly as you said. The free passes are going to kill you in any game, let alone when you play a top tier team like North Carolina. It just puts you, you know, in a bad position, and they'll make the adjustments. That's why I think the Pirates have what, 6, 7 coaches on the staff. I mean, we have pitching coaches, we have hitting coaches, we have other guys. I mean, Cliff does a great job, but other guys need to step up. I mean, it's guys. We have to coach guys. We have to start getting these walks down. We got to start having better quality at bats. We got to make adjustments at the plate. These are things that you see the track record with Cliff. He makes the adjustments. He does it, but it's time for some guys to get in there and coach these guys up and get them back on the right track.
And by contrast, I mentioned for the week, Pirate pitching 33-30 as far as that strikeout to free pass ratio. Campbell and North Carolina, they were combined 45 strikeouts, 13 walks, and 3 hit batters. So ECU was essentially 1-1, whereas our opposition was 3-1. So just think about that as far as all that extra traffic on the bases, and just as far as the people we're pitching to, and just the ripple effects of issuing so many free passes.
Yeah, I think the last night's game, I think it was one of the stat lines they had talked about was, I think we were like 180th in the country in walks per 9. I mean, that stat, you're going to have a 2-5 record when you're 180th with the walks per 9. So, I mean, obviously it's early. Those numbers can change drastically, but the boys got to find a way to pound the zone and stop giving up the free passes, getting ahead first pitch, and you see the success that the Greenville native had last night coming in the game. I think he pitched 2 innings or maybe 3 innings against us. Man, that first pitch, he was attacking the zone early in the account. He was throwing his all speed for strikes. And when you get ahead of hitters, it puts a lot of pressure on the hitter. When you get behind, when you get that 2-0, guys get into hitters counts, it's a lot more difficult on the hitter side, when they're down in the count. So us getting behind guys quite frequently, it hurts. It's tough.
Yeah, you're of course referencing Matthew Mateus and the DH Conley product, and he pitched against the Pirates twice in the series. In the game at the DBAP on Saturday, he worked an inning, did not allow a run on 1 hit, and then last night was very good. You did have the home run by John Collins that I believe you referenced earlier that we discussed off the air, and laced that one into the left field jungle. But Matthew Mateus picked up the save, his second of the season, in 2 2/3. That was the only run he surrendered, and one of just 2 hits, striking out 6 while not issuing a free pass.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why he's most likely on the list of like stoppers of the year, because he attacks the zone, he pounds it and trusts his stuff, and as a player, that works at every level. I mean, that works at the high school, that works at the college, and that works at our level, at the pro level. Guys who pound the zone and attack the hitters with strikes are the ones who have success. So, hopefully the guys can look back and say, hey, look at this guy. This guy's been around, is one of the better pitchers in the league. He attacks guys. He's in the zone, and hopefully we can take a piece from that and say, hey, we need to be more aggressive in the zone and attack hitters.
In game 3 on Monday night, the Pirates got off to a good start. You put up a 0, and then you get a couple guys on, runners on the corners with no outs, able to push across the run. Unfortunately, that was it. And then the Tar Heels, were able to take advantage of those free passes. They tied the game on a home run by Stokely, but from there, just all the traffic on the bases, and obviously they're one of college baseball's better lineups, pretty veteran group, and no, they may not have the Vance Honeycutt and some of the names they did last year, and maybe not as much power in terms of home runs, but just a very solid lineup from top to bottom. And it'll be interesting to see as the season goes on, how many home runs they do end up hitting.
Yeah, I think the takeaway from them, I mean, obviously you give them a lot of free passes and they make it hurt. They do damage. I mean, I just just seeing how they go about their business is, something maybe we should take a page out of their book. I mean, man, these guys are hitting balls hard, making plays, coming up with big hits, and it's like they have that expectation of winning. They have expectations that they're going to have success. You know, you don't want to harp on it, but man, it just seems like recently uh, we'll get a hit or we'll walk, and it's like a full celebration. Like we're super happy we walked. I mean that the expectation should be of success. I mean we should go into games expecting to get hits, expecting to hit doubles, expecting to hit home runs. Um, the turf on the off the plate for a double, and we're celebrating like we just hit a 3-run double to take the lead. I, I hope the boys can like put their heads down and say, hey, we got to be a little more gritty and grind it out here. Look at North Carolina, man. They go out there, they play hard, but they're more concerned about the results they're getting than the celebrations after the results. So hopefully we could start playing, focus more on the baseball than the celebrations. I mean that 2-5 teams shouldn't be celebrating too much. We should be trying to find ways to win games.
We have a comment here from Johnny Robertson on YouTube. He's asking about Walker Barron. Walker's, of course, in his first season behind the plate last year, and Pirates were blessed with the luxury of having two proven catchers there with J-Dub and then also Ryan McChrystal. But now Walker Barron has the chance to shine, and he has thus far. He's had quite a few quality at bats, but then also he has been pretty good behind the plate defensively. And yes, you see Michael Kalinich in a DH role, but you've not seen him behind the plate just yet. And Johnny's question is, should Walker Barron be getting a game off from behind the plate soon? Last season, J-Dub only called in 5 of the first 7 games. Plus, Collins should get more at bats. I think kind of what I was already saying, Johnny, with the luxury of having Ryan McChrystal, who's a proven commodity there behind the plate. Perhaps soon, I think, with this stretch that we're currently in because of the weather. You have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, obviously an off day today. You play Old Dominion, tomorrow, and then you're off Thursday and then play Friday through Sunday. 7 games in 9 days. It will be interesting to see if Michael Kalinich or John Collins, my guess would be Kalinich, would see some action perhaps behind the plate. Collins, maybe, you never know. You may see him at DH.
Yeah, no, going off of, what he's saying. I mean, that all catchers are different, man. Some guys can catch. I mean, you get guys like Yadier Molina who called every single game. There's other guys who can't do that, and man, Cliff has a track record of producing catcher after catcher. He does an exceptional job being a catcher in his career. He does an exceptional job with those guys, and he what he believes is the best thing for the team. He'll make those decisions catcher wise. We've never had issues with catchers, and I don't think we will. But yeah, no, that's it's early. You want to see the guys, and I think you were saying the one guy was having some problems with his legs. So obviously at the catcher position, any kind of leg problem, that's a tough thing to get a guy behind the plate if he's having leg issues.
Yep, no doubt. And kind of talking a little bit more about Monday's game before we look ahead and take a look around the American at what transpired in week two. Yeah, as you look at last night's game, despite all those free passes, we did, and like Cliff mentioned post game, he said it was almost remarkable with all those free passes that we were still within striking distance there late, just losing the game 6-3 because with 10 or 11 free passes, you would have thought against such a quality opponent that they would have put up more runs.
Yeah, I mean that's baseball. It's baseball. It happens, and you know it is what it is. Sometimes you go through and you have good days, you have bad days, and you move on to the next day and the next series.
Yep. The Pirates were there late when down 3 or 4 runs, the beneficiary of a big double play there to where Colby Wallace just stepped on third and threw it to first. And yet at that point, you were thinking, hey, despite what's been up to this point, you get a guy or two on and get a swing, then you never know. But unfortunately, that was not the case. The bases, of course, empty when John Collins got the big swing off Matthew Mateus. And when I think I went back and looked at it, through the first 7 games, just shy of 40% of our outs have been strikeouts.
Yeah, that's not a recipe for
Yeah,
success.
yeah,
Uh, unfortunately, those big innings come from consecutive quality at bats, and we just haven't been able to put together those 4, 5, 6 at bats in a row that are quality. Walks, hit by pitches, double. You know, uh, sack bunt to get a guy over, the next guy drives them in. We just haven't put together a stretch of quality at bats together, and that's something that will come. I mean, as we keep on saying, it's early. We're striking out a lot, but you just got to have an emphasis of you got to do more damage with those pitches in the zone. I know just watching briefly, man, we take a lot of pitches that are strikes, in the middle of the zone. When guys are striking out as much as we are, and maybe, I don't know the theory behind it, but we do like to show that like fake bunt action, but man, a lot of the times that's a strike down the middle where we're giving up a strike, but it's tough when you have 17 strikeouts in a game. There's not too many, fastball strikes that we could really give up at this point until guys can make those adjustments and have quality at bats and put quality at bats together as a team. Uh, I think you really have to take advantage of every good strike you get at this point, and hopefully string together, some rallies.
and what we've seen, some growth on Saturday and Sunday, followed by a few steps back last night with the 17 Ks and the lack of consistency. And that certainly is a characteristic of a young team, an inexperienced team like we are. And you certainly hope, and I believe that as the season progresses, that we'll see the more and more consistency that we and all Pirate fans want to see.
Yeah, I mean, young team. The first game that a lot of those guys have played at Clark LeClaire in front of 5,000 people. So, I mean, there could be those jitters. There could be that, anxious young kids or new guys to the program. So, hey, take it as a learning experience and get better from it and make the adjustment. I mean, Cliff talked about it after the game. These guys, the game sped up to them, and that could be, being young guys, being first time in front of big crowds, and that's something Cliff will get right and make it right and make the adjustments. Uh, he's always been able to make those adjustments and get the guys, playing hard and playing, great baseball, Pirate baseball that we're used to, and I think the guys will get there. I think you have those growing pains with a new team and young guys and new faces, and it's hitting pretty hard early in the season. So, but Cliff has a track record of getting it right and making things better, and I'm sure they're getting after it today and getting ready for this week.
Speaking of this week, on Wednesday, 3 o'clock first pitch at Clark LeClaire. I caught up with Chris Finwood, the longtime head coach of Old Dominion, and talked about their 2-4 start of the season. Got swept at Georgia Tech, but don't let that fool you. They led or were tied in the late innings in all three of those games, three very competitive games, and one, in fact, led, I think it was perhaps 3-0 in the bottom of the ninth, and got beat 7-3. You don't see that very often. Take a 3-0 lead
Yeah.
into the bottom of the ninth and then lose 7-3 on a walk-off grand slam. Thanks once again, they issued 2 or 3 free passes, committed an error, and then boom, the big swing does them in. And they do have an inexperienced bullpen and an excellent starting rotation. I don't recall the starter, its name. Go check out that conversation. But they took 2 out of 3 from what should be a pretty good Charlotte team on weekend 2. And it's a game, obviously, we need to get into the win column and get some momentum going into this weekend's 22nd annual Keith LeClaire Classic.
Yeah, hey, as I think what Bill Belichick said at the best, one game at a time. Focus on, ODU now. I mean, that's the team we're facing. That's the guys we have to get out, and we have to find ways to score runs. So, at this point, one game at a time. Go out there, play hard, play gritty pirate baseball, and put our heads down and find a way to win. That's, I think, at this point, you find ways to put, check that win column is the big thing. Find a way. If it's, having good at bats, stealing a base, or, take advantage of what they give you. And that's, I think, at this point, you just go back to the drawing board and say, hey, how can we, make things happen, or just make adjustments so we can start putting ourselves in positive situations to win.
And not to deviate too much and get off on a tangent here, but it's pretty remarkable the stretch they're about to go through. And they're having to play the majority of their games, I think perhaps like all but 15 games away from home this year, because they're having a new stadium built. And this weekend they're at a classic format, 3 different opponents at Middle Tennessee. But after that, they have a midweek game at Mississippi State. They have a weekend series at Auburn, and then also have a weekend series, their conference opening series down at Southern Miss. So he said that's probably, in all his years as a head coach, which is about 2 decades, the toughest stretch that any of his teams have ever gone through.
Yeah, they're going to hit July, and those white pants are going to still look brand new. Man, 15 home games all year. That's a tough stretch, man. That's a tough season. But obviously, looking at a program like that, hey, you got a brand new stadium. There's sacrifices you have to make to have that come and have that future.
Before we talk more about this weekend's Keith LeClaire Classic, wanted to recognize our PGXGLOVES.com Player of the Week. Kind of came down between Alex Peltier and Keenan Bowman. Wanted to mention both of those guys. Keenan Bowman had a 4-game hit streak going into last night. Unfortunately, saw that come to an end. Alex Peltier had the Pirates' first 3-hit game of the season, a couple of doubles and a highlight reel catch in Sunday's game where he laid out in center field. Big catch. I'm trying to remember the exact situation, but it seems like Tar Heels had at least 1, maybe 2 runners on base when that catch was made there in the middle innings. But congratulations to Alex on once again being named our Player of the Week. And starting this weekend's Keith LeClaire Classic, 4:30 on Friday, Kent State Cause, do you remember back in 2012, you had Kent State and Stony Brook in Omaha? I remember Stony Brook came out of Baton Rouge, taking care of LSU, and then Kent State came out of a super regional out at Oregon. That was a very memorable CWS for someone like myself that loves pulling for the underdog.
Yeah, no, hey, and it shows. You see these teams that can, are sort of that underdog kind of story that can make those runs at the end of the year. And uh, hey, it gives you always hope. I mean, we've had some great teams that uh, didn't get to the promised land, and hey, sometimes it's the right timing, the right teams you're playing against, and the right chemistry. And man, that's an amazing thing for Kent State to have that on their wall. They've been to Omaha, so um, hopefully we see that in here in the near future. And but no, it gives you hope that programs like that have been able to get there. I think we're a lot more established program, and we're knocking on that door. So
Yep, no doubt. And Jeff Duncan, that conversation that I had with Coach, that will air on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. So, following the Pirates midweek matchup with Old Dominion, you can get an early look at the Golden Flashes. And of course, they're one of three opponents coming to town. Fortunately, East Carolina was able to add Kent State because it looked like it may just be a three-team event due to Army having to cancel at the last moment. But you also have Indiana State, a program that's had a lot of success over the last few seasons. Their former head coach, Mitch Hanna, is now down at South Florida, leading the USF Bulls. And their new head coach, Tracy Archuleta, will try to catch up with him. He's coming over from Southern Indiana, a program that had made the jump to D1, and also a much anticipated matchup with the Virginia Tech Hokies. Obviously, this was in football, but a lot of kind of hard feelings from Pirate Nation towards Virginia Tech. Just generally speaking, because of what transpired. I guess it's hard to believe 7 years ago now, when you had that hurricane that had hit Eastern North Carolina, and that game was unable to be played. And diehard Pirate fans will certainly remember some of the back and forth that ensued between both universities' administrations and the cancellation of that series between the Pirates and Hokies. But it'd be great to get a quality win over an ACC opponent on Sunday afternoon. First pitch for that one is 3:30. But Kaz, let's take a quick look around the American right quick before we wrap up this second edition of This Week in Pirate Baseball. You have Rice at 2-4. They actually were 2-1 last week. They picked up wins over Sam Houston State and Southern Cal, splitting a 2-game series, as it turned out, due to a cancellation in the third game. But they lost 7-4 to the Trojans before bouncing back with a 4-3 win. Wichita State, as Johnny Robertson mentions here in our comment section, he says one of the AAC favorites, is 2-5 as well, coming off a loss. He said the Chaminade. I honestly didn't even know. I wasn't sure regarding Chaminade's baseball program. You hear about them all the time in the Maui Invitational, but I did know that, as he mentioned, Wichita State had dropped 3 of 4 to the Rainbow Warriors out there at Hawaii, of course, of a 4-game series, and losing 4-3, winning 11-4, losing 4-2 and 7-1 in those final 2 games. Charlotte's 3-3. They dropped a series to Old Dominion this week. They travel to Arkansas, so they'll be taking on former Pirate left-hander Zach Root and the Razorbacks after playing Longwood in the midweek. South Florida's off to a solid start under first-year head coach Mitch Hanna's. They are 4-3. They lost to Florida State 6-2 in the midweek, but then had a series win over Georgia Southern. defeating the Eagles 9-1 and 13-5 before falling 9-8 in the series finale. UTSA 5-3. They lost 5-0 to Baylor in the midweek, and then beat LIU. I'm guessing LIU perhaps lost a decent amount off last year's team that was so good and made the Chapel Hill Regional. And then the Tar Heels were forced to hit a walk-off grand slam in the ninth to win that one. But LIU, the Sharks, were dominated by the Roadrunners 6-5, 13-0, 15-0, and 7-1 in that one in San Antonio. Memphis is off to a 4-2 start, taking 2 out of 3 from Valpo. And then UAB, and the Blazers have the best record in the American. They are 6-1. They've won 6 straight since losing their season opener to Maryland. They had a midweek win over Alabama A&M, but then a quality series win over South Alabama, 8-0, 5-3, and 9-7. So there you have a look at some of the Pirates' upcoming opponents in the American Athletic Conference, which will begin play here in a few weeks. But Kaz, before we wrap up this edition of the show, I know you were able to attend a couple games at ASU. Watching the Sun Devils take on ORU. Of course, diehard college baseball fans, I'm sure many Pirates remember Oral Roberts and the Golden Eagles' run to Omaha just a couple seasons ago. What did you see between the Sun Devils and Golden Eagles?
Man, it's fun baseball. I mean, it's in my backyard, so I got a chance. One of my former players and maybe current players was recognized at the game. He had in his career taken or broke a record of Barry Bonds, which is a very, very tough thing to do. So he threw out the first pitch. So I went to be there for him. And no, it was great. It was great baseball. There's some really, really talented players on both teams. I know Arizona State has a couple possible first rounders. So it was good. It was good to watch baseball. Those guys play hard. Man, there's some really good arms out here. We saw 3 or 4 guys touching 95. It was fun. I love watching college baseball. I love seeing these guys develop and grow and get to our level on the pro side. So yeah, no, it's fun. I love the game. I'm a ESPN Plus viewer. I watch UVA. Coach Mack coached me back in the day, so I watch a lot of UVA. I watch a lot of Tennessee. I love watching college baseball, and I love following it. So it was fun. It was just fun to be there and see the atmosphere. I'll tell you this: they have a very historical program at ASU. The atmosphere is nothing like an East Carolina Pirate game. I'll tell you that. I caught myself yawning a couple times at the game. So Pirate Nation, we're a whole different breed of game. And man, I'll tell you that a lot of those guys would probably love to play as a Pirate, just with the fan base we have and, how behind our fan base is to our players. It's awesome.
Yeah, well said. I think certainly the diehards realize it, but a lot of folks in the last several years, with all the hosting of regionals and that super regional against Texas, and got a firsthand look, thanks to ESPN of what we bring to the table as a baseball fan base and the awesome atmosphere we have at Clark LeClaire consistently, being top 15 or so nationally in attendance, and in our season ticket sales, and they've become a hot commodity, where you have certain games that are even going for 100 plus, games like last night, on the secondary market.
No, I mean, that's a testament to what the Pirate baseball has done over the last 3 decades. When you win, when you put up a good product and you compete at a high level, people will come and watch. And man, there's not a better fan base. I hear it all the time. Every player that either plays for me or plays for another team, they find out that I played at East Carolina and they played against us. They're like, man, that's the best atmosphere. They got the best fans. What a great place. And man, you got to love to hear that, because that's what it's about. That's why a lot of us ended up going to East Carolina. You know, it was a great program, even back in, man, I feel like I'm aging myself, back in my day. But man, it's that fan base that gives you that energy to play and gets that excitement going. I mean, it's a great, there's nothing better, man. There's nothing better than going to the park and knowing that you have, you know, a fan base behind you. You could smell the cooking in the outfield, and you hear the megaphones in left field. There's no better atmosphere.
Yeah, we're essentially the same age, you know, probably no more than a year or two apart, and it's hard to believe that it's been 20 years, and like you're saying, you know, since you were playing for the Pirates, and all the success that we were having then, you know, going to that super regional down at South Carolina, and you were part of those teams that, you know, I think it was something like 7 or 8 years in a row, I guess from 99 to 05, that went to a regional every single year.
Yeah, no, it's built East Carolina up to what it is today. I mean, and you see the guys who have built that over. They're continuing on the coaching side. They're continuing in the game. They're continuing in the community. It's awesome. It's awesome to see, you know, former Pirate players still being actively involved in the game of baseball and being involved in the community in Greenville. And it's what it's about, man. It's about that community, and it's about, you know, that city of Greenville. It's a special place.
This week in Pirate Baseball is presented by PGXGLOVES.com. Kaz, you know, tell our listeners and viewers, you know, what you offer. Obviously, you see there on the screen: batting gloves, golf gloves, football gloves. I know we were discussing off the air, you know, what some of your top sellers are currently.
Yeah, no, we offer a variety of fun, you know, gloves, mostly for, you know, the age, like ages to 8 to 20, and then we'll have 50-year-olds who go to softball games and wear the gloves. But yeah, our big sellers these days are, you know, we have a Joker themed glove, we have a clown themed glove that sell really well. So we're always looking to bring excitement and high quality products to, you know, our buyers, and, you know, give them an opportunity to have a fun quality product at an affordable price. You know, you see a lot of the gloves these days are very expensive. We try to stay on the lower end of the price scale for the market to make sure we can have everyone, you know, be able to wear cool and fun and high quality gloves.
Appreciate your support of the show, and you know, we'll definitely, hopefully this week. Last week I said that this would be a Sunday night show, as you know, as the weather dictated. I mean, the game was being played on Monday night as opposed to wrapping the series up on Sunday, and with that being the case, wanted to be able to talk about that North Carolina series in its entirety. So this week looks like great weather, hopefully great crowds at the Keith LeClaire Classic, and hopefully a lot of Pirate wins to discuss. 4 different opponents between now and Sunday. Again, Old Dominion, Kent State, Indiana State, and Virginia Tech. And we'll talk about it on Sunday night following that matchup with the Hokies.
Hopefully we can come out with at least 3 wins, you know, so take it day by day. Let's get ODU tomorrow and go from there.
No doubt. So really appreciate everyone tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media at Jungle Tales Pod on X and Instagram. And then you can find the show on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify by searching Jungle Tales, a Pirate Baseball podcast. But for former East Carolina third baseman Mark Menakazi, I'm Bubba Rosenbaum. You've been watching and listening Jungle Tales, and we'll talk to you soon. And as always, go Pirates.
Thank you.